Which city truly feels magical after sunset? Kyoto for me. Walking through the lantern-lit streets at night felt unreal, like the whole city turns into another world after dark. Best I've been to is Prague. It's a beautiful city, but at night time it's spectacular. It's all the gold leaf and spotlights pointing up at all the old Gothic buildings. Tokyo at night feels like you accidentally walked into a different timeline. Prague at night is something else tbh. Quebec City, in winter, with a light snowfall. At no lower than -10 Celsius. Rome. I remember sitting on the wall of the Pantheon at midnight and listening to the reverberating sound of tourists walking through the area, the click-clack of their footsteps. It was magical because there was less people at night, and you could hear everyone's footsteps echoing off the buildings. Edinburgh was really nice in the winter time. Budapest along the river is magical at night. Quebec. Yes to all of those other answers, but there is something truly magical about a snowy winter night in a city. It's so silent, the atmosphere is Christmas core, and all you hear are your feet squeaking the snow. Then you get inside a pub or bistro with a big fireplace and lots of people socializing with a glass of wine or microbrews and having poutine, and it's the coziest thing you've ever experienced. Krakow was pretty spectacular. Prague's atmosphere is authentically unique due to its preserved Gothic architecture and the flicker of over 700 historic gas lamps. London. The lights on the embankment like jewels on chains. Hong Kong is nice. Walking along the bay, everyone just chilling in the parks with the flashy skyscrapers in the background. San Francisco. A while ago, I did some laundry delivery for extra money. And got to see the city at night. I visited nooks and crannies of the place that reminded me of a Studio Ghibli town. I was on a hill overlooking the city with all its twinkling lights. Then another night I had to drive into this windy neighborhood road that led to a block that was on a hillside and the homes were only accessible by a huge staircase zigzagging down the hill. Venice. The day trippers are gone and the sestiere are lovely. Easily Vegas. The city doesn't wake up until 3 p.m. in the afternoon. New Orleans, but in like a spooky way. Bangkok before COVID and influx of tourism. New York City. Because it doesn't pretend to sleep. The lights, the noise, the random moments at 2 a.m., it feels like anything could happen, and somehow, it usually does. A. All of Europe. B. Quebec City. Mexico City in the rainy season. Just got back from a trip in Amsterdam, and it's lovely. King's Landing. In all seriousness, Manhattan NYC, that place is insane bright at night, especially near Times Square. I've night-walked a lot of cities including NYC, Paris, London, Kuala Lumpur, Dubai, CDMX, Amsterdam, Tokyo, and at least 100 others. The best one was Istanbul, and it isn't even close. That place is absolutely magical after dark. Black Rock City for about 2 weeks out of the year. Rothenburg ob der Tauber in Bavaria, Germany. Lots of tourists come in during the day, but once they all leave around dinner time, it feels like you're walking through a medieval city. There's even a lamplighter who does free walking tours if you meet in the right spot. So amazing. For me it has to be Florence, such a beautiful city. Amsterdam at night is pure magic. I thought Berlin looked a bit shabby during the day, but it really came to life at night. The area I stayed in became full of color. Prague, the castle, the river, the bridges. New Orleans. I haven't been in many years, but I used to visit when I was younger. There was a vibe and electricity in the air after dark that you just can't put into words. I visited Bologna recently. In the evening everyone, like everyone, comes out into the streets, to talk, eat, drink, play. We walked through miles and miles of this. Never seen anything like it. Athens, Greece. After a private guided tour that lasted 6 hours, including some beers and food, we walked up to a hill with a small forest in the middle of the city. The sun had set and it got dark fast. Beneath your feet were shards of ancient pottery everywhere you looked. The hill was a quiet refuge in this big city. We sat down on a bench, the guide gave us homemade cake and homemade wine. We sat there in silence and had the most magnificent view of the Parthenon as it was lit up by spotlights from all sides. It was absolutely beautiful. A little bit further down the hill, down by the trees and bushes, were some kind of music group that had gathered and they were playing their instruments. It created a perfect backdrop when we sat there in silence and were absorbing the moment. The air was warm despite being in October and after the sun had set. I will never forget it. One of the best travel moments of my life. For me, it definitely has to be Edinburgh, Scotland. The moment the sun goes down and the old street lamps light up the cobblestone alleyways around the Royal Mile, it genuinely feels like you've stepped back in time or walked straight into a fantasy novel. The Gothic architecture combined with the fog rolling in around the castle makes the whole city feel incredibly atmospheric and a bit haunting in the best way possible. Prague is definitely a close second for me though. What city completely surprised you with its nighttime vibe? Venice. After midnight a million tourists suddenly disappear and all you will see is a cat or two and you hear your own footsteps echoing. Singapore at midnight feels like a city that never quite decided whether it was a business district or a film set. Everything is too clean, too lit, too intentional. But then you walk through Chinatown or along the river and there is something genuinely eerie and beautiful about it, like the city has a second identity it only reveals after 10 p.m. Paris warm lights quiet streets everything feels cinematic. Charleston, South Carolina. Specifically the French Quarter.